on this edition of Lifeguard.
Requesting a rescue boat.
Driving a 30-foot rescue boat inside the Surfline is definitely risky. If the boat wasn't there, we would have had a different story completely. We would have been looking for bodies.
And
he tried to do a backflip off the rocks.
The tide was going out, and I don't know if you saw the rocks.
And you could definitely hear him scream out.
plus,
This event is about the workouts, the conditioning, the training, but it's also about bragging rights.
and later,
Dog versus person, dog each area.
All the way to the bone.
All the way to the bone. That's a pretty good laceration. It requires immediate medical attention.
the lifeguards of Southern California protect over 400 miles of coastline,
It's just really us versus nature.
and nothing impacts their day like the weather.
As lifeguards, the weather dictates the type of day that you're going to have.
Shark sighting, clear the water.
I need medics to ski beach dock and other units.
On these beaches, lifeguards are the first responders.
1, 2, 3. When you get this many people coming to the beach, things are going to happen.
Hey, you all right, buddy? You there?
They are there to save you.
He told me to grab the buoy. He was literally right there.
They are there to lifeguard. Facing south, Huntington State Beach is wide open to swells created by storms below the equator. It is home to some of the biggest waves and biggest rip currents in Southern California.
These rip currents drift down the beach, squirting swimmers out that are just swept out to sea, and they will reach exceedingly strong intensities, so strong that no human can swim against them. It's not possible.
Here, the tower guards are the first line of defense. But when something happens too fast or too far away from the beach, there's always backup. Rescue boat personnel are deployed in teams of 2. The operator is responsible for getting the boat quickly and safely on scene. He must get as close to danger as possible without putting the vessel in jeopardy. The deckhand goes into the water to help victims back to the boat. He must be a strong swimmer and an even better decision maker. Today, Bobby Curry and Matt Kelso are working as a team.
Bobby Curry's one of the best deckhands I've worked with. Sometimes I call him a Hawkeye because he spots everything.
Matt he's got my life and my safety in his hands, and I trust him 100% with that.
We're a good team, we have good chemistry, and it's always a pleasure to work with him.
Today, the surf is about 3 to 4 feet. The tide is going to be dropping all day. With the low tide comes very strong rip currents. All that water comes in, it's got to go back out, finds the weakest point possible, and takes everything with it.
It doesn't take long for the rip currents to strike.
Dispatch to 32 swimmers outside Tower 3 right.
Boat operator Ryan Gates heads to the scene.
Driving a 30-foot rescue boat inside the Surfline is definitely risky. We're constantly looking over our shoulders at the waves that are breaking towards our bow. But if we're broadside or turned a little bit and we take a decent-sized wave, there's probably going to be a lot of damage. I don't ever want to think of that boat rolling.
This time, Kelso and Curry respond.
When we got the call to the outside rescue, Matt and I decided let's do a speed drop. So I climbed to the back of the boat and waited for his hand signal.
A high-speed drop will put a lifeguard within 5 yards of a victim, but it's not for the faint of heart.
And Matt did it perfectly. Before the wake was gone, the victim's sitting right there.
As predicted, today is turning out to be a busy one for Surfwatch.
15 standby, 2 bogey in a hole, and 13 second guard in.
From the boat, we have a completely different vantage point, so we can see a lot of stuff develop before possibly the tower guards see it. The boats are vital in what we do as lifeguards.
But the biggest call of the day is still to come.
Requesting a rescue boat. We're having lots of rescues at the moment.
I received a radio call that there were approximately 4 tower lifeguards responding to several rescues in the area. When we arrived, we saw 5 to 6 people in a rip current being sucked out to sea. I just saw people spreading out quickly that couldn't swim, and it just seemed to be getting worse.
These 2 guys were just barely getting breaths of air between the head coming up and down. I just grabbed a ring buoy and threw it for the 2 people struggling the most.
Can I go? Can I go?
Meanwhile, to the south, at San Diego's famous Sunset Cliffs, the inland heat wave has pushed thrill seekers to the edge, and visitors are literally taking the plunge into the Pacific. Even though it's illegal to jump from above 5 feet, people often take the risk. But trouble can come quickly when the tide changes.
We saw a gentleman down by the cliffs. He tried to do a backflip off the rocks.
The tide was kind of going out, and I don't know if you saw the rocks before. And I think when he came down, he hit the rock on the side.
Everyone kind of tried to pull him out a little bit because he couldn't really swim anymore. His foot was pretty broken. It was easy to see, too.
And lifeguards dispatch is responding to 700 Sunset Cliff. Additional info says patient out of water towards the end of the beach.
The victim lies at the southern end of Sunset Cliffs in an area residents call Garbage Beach. The beach is nicknamed after the pungent and slick sea kelp that litters the sand. Ocean Beach lifeguard Sergeant David Rains sends Jet 1 to the scene and heads for Garbage Beach.
22 from Lifeguard 1 Sam. We had a report that the patient was down at the south end of the beach.
I responded on our PWC. When I got on scene, we just kept him stable. Then it was just taking care of the patient.
San Diego fire personnel and Jet 1 operator Ryan Graves arrive on scene at the same time. The victim is a 27-year-old male. Graves heads back to Jet 1 to radio a report to Sergeant Rains.
We have a stable patient with a possible right leg ankle fracture, so we'll need a stretcher to get him to the bottom of the rope and then a lift system to get him to the top.
Copy that. Since the firefighters and the paramedics determined that the patient was not critical, we needed to go ahead and get a stretcher down to the patient.
Sergeant Rick Strobel arrives to assist in the difficult extraction.
Sergeant Rains quickly assigned me to set up the haul system. What we try to do is we try to send 7 people to a cliff response to handle all the responsibilities associated with extricating the patient. We effect over 50 coastal cliff rescues each year. We're all trained to get over the cliff in less than 10 minutes.
We've got a litter wheel that we can go ahead and bring on down. We need one more roller for ice cube tray on this little hump right here.
I'll meet it down at the bottom?
Yeah, you'll meet it down at the bottom.
Okay.
With the rope system now in place, Sergeant Rains sends lifeguards Lance Mendoza and Michael Gilmore to the bottom of the cliff.
His ankle was really puffy and clearly broken. He was in a lot of pain.
The victim's pain is increasing by the second. Medics must act fast before he slips into shock.
Oh, man.
At Huntington State Beach, an extreme low tide has triggered a frenzy of rip currents. Deckhand Bobby Curry and boat operator Matt Kelso find themselves in the middle of a mass rescue.
I just grabbed a ring buoy and threw it for the 2 people struggling the most.
Can I go? Can I go?
They're basically drowning, and when they're drowning, they'll grab whatever is in their hands. And this guy just decides to grab on me and use me as his buoy.
At this point, I'm looking around, making sure everybody's safe, and they're not. I saw 2 other people in a rip, so I grabbed the second ring buoy and threw it off to another victim. Time was of the essence. If I can't bring people aboard quickly, we risk injuring the victims if we get caught broadside in the surf.
Just stay there, I'm gonna pick you up, okay? Everything's gonna be okay.
I got as close as I could, put the boat into neutral, and started assisting the other people.
Right here, hey!
There were 3 victims. I was able to get 2 on board, and I just noticed the boat was sideways to the surf.
To make matters worse, another swimmer's been caught in a rip and is drifting out to sea.
It was just a matter of time before he was going to submerge. All the victims were spread out, and there was only one deckhand and one boat operator. I really thought that we were going to have at least 2 or 3 drownings on that particular rescue.
1930, requesting tower guard assistance outside 3.
Tower guards from the beach are trained to get in the water and assist the boat if needed. Lifeguard Michael Fales is the first tower guard in the water.
I responded to help back up the boat, and by the time I got out there, there's another group of little kids getting pulled out. So rescue can develop and become larger as the rips become stronger.
With Lifeguard Fales in the water, the crew works to corral the victims. But in these conditions, no one will be safe until everyone is on the boat.
Once I got the 3rd victim on board, I repositioned the boat, backed in, grabbed my deckhand and his 2 victims. We assessed the scene and moved down and grabbed 2 other victims. We gathered up as many tower guards as we could. Once everybody was safe, we moved to a location where there wasn't a rip current and I could get them close to shore. At that point, we dropped everybody off and they were assisted by the tower guards into shore.
If the boat wasn't there, we would have had a different story completely. We would have been looking for bodies probably.
"90 miles south at Sunset Cliffs, a 27-year-old man has shattered his ankle jumping off the rocks.
It's a beautiful spot, but the beach here is very remote. There's not a whole lot of access to it except one steep trail that people use a rope to get up and down.
The victim is at the south end of Garbage Beach. The best way off this stretch of sand is a steep trail 200 yards to the north. Not only will lifeguards need to transport him to the access point, they will also need to get the victim up the 100-foot cliff.
So we're going to go ahead and utilize the litter wheel, put the stretcher on top of the litter wheel, and walk the patient to the base of the cliff.
Paramedics and lifeguard Ryan Graves package the patient for transport.
Head's going to go that way.
You put your left foot inside.
There you go.
Due to the condition of his ankle, the medics must first administer morphine to ease the intense pain. The victim arrives at the foot of the cliff's access point, but he is not out of danger yet. The vertical haul could injure his leg further if not done with care.
If that patient was critical, had a cervical spine injury or internal injuries or compound fractures, then a whole other story. We would have to expedite our rescue response. And then other means of getting the patient off the beach are warranted. But when we have a patient that's not critical, that cliff rescue is the easy way to go.
Okay, ready to haul. Haul away.
Hauling slowly. Haul slowly.
I became the rescuer at the feet just to get up to the first flat section. And then Lance Mendoza and I took the patient the rest of the way up.
How you doing, Kevin? No problem.
Okay, we're stopping, taking a bite.
Keep going.
Once the man is brought to the top, paramedics transport him to a waiting ambulance.
All right, good luck, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We have people jumping in the water that have no business in the water. The rocks are not very forgiving. We get a pretty remote location like that, and all of a sudden you've got a broken ankle. Is it really worth it?
Guarding Southern California's beaches is no easy task. Ocean conditions can change in an instant, turning subdued waters into raging rip currents. For lifeguards, that means a day at the beach is never fun and games. Except for one day. The California Surf Life-Saving Championship. This once-a-year competition is very similar to the Olympic Games. Instead of countries sending their best athletes, beaches send their best lifeguards. Each event is designed around a lifeguard skill, like swimming for speed, paddling to a victim, and even racing into the water. Lifeguards compete both as individuals and in teams.
Now, this event is about the workouts, the conditioning, the training, the camaraderie, the fun. but it's also about bragging rights. It's about taking home the prize and competing to see who is actually the best this year. We've got about 200 lifeguards, plus we've got lifeguards from Victoria, Australia, that are here showcasing their talents. We've got run, swim, runs, we've got paddleboard races, surf ski races, running races, swimming races, you name it. Favorite, of course, is the surf boat race. We've also got the American Iron Man and Iron Woman.
Today, 13 lifeguard agencies have brought their teams to Newport Beach. Los Angeles County's team has dominated the event, placing first overall for the last 28 years. But every beach, large or small, comes here believing its team can win.
It means a lot for Newport because it is home court and, you know, first time hosting this event, so we're pretty fired up.
Hoping to spoil Newport's dreams and LA County's dominance is a small team from Carlsbad, led by expert paddleboarder Shane Scoggins.
Lifeguard races are just part of reinforcing the family and the community and culture of lifeguarding. So today my personal goals are to represent my department and kind of fly the flag.
In the overall rankings, I'm somewhere around second, so hopefully if I could keep scoring points, I might be top 5 or 6.
A veteran guard of the California State Park System, Scoggins has spent most of his life near the ocean.
It's me surfing in the beaches in Santa Barbara, and that led me to the junior lifeguard program, and I'm kind of a product of that program.
Attention in front of the lifeguard tower. Now would be a good time to find your footing and move your way toward shore.
2.5 years in, I was dead set. I'm going to do everything I can do to get myself in a position where I can be a permanent. So all my eggs went into that basket, and fortunately it paid off.
It's what's happening on the periphery of the rip that we want to try and get to.
Lifeguarding's a job, but it's bigger than showing up and clocking in and making rescues. It's how you assert yourself in the ocean and how you interact with other people, whether it's the public or your other guards.
With the day coming to a close, LA County has already locked in their team's victory.
Well, they have a very large department. They have a commitment to training, and they've just got some excellent athletes.
After over 25 events, only one remains, the two-man swim and rescue board relay. A victory here could propel Scoggins to his first ever individual medal. For Newport Beach, who are winless for the day, this is their last chance for glory.
You're in the hands of the sprinter.
This is a two-person relay. The first contestant swims to the buoy. After that, his partner will race out on a rescue board, and together they will paddle in. Scoggins is second in the water and quickly takes over the lead. It's a close match, but this race hinges on the exchange. Halfway in, Newport pulls into a slight lead. Newport crosses first. Scoggins and Carlsbad are right behind.
Extremely successful event. I couldn't be prouder of all the lifeguards today. They put forth great effort. It was a great competition. The weather was fantastic, and the city of Newport Beach hosted regionals for the first time, and hopefully we'll be able to come back and do it again.
When I hit the water, I had some real bad wave karma. I had one good closeout when I was entering, and then another wave halfway out, and that's the fun thing about surf racing is you can't control it all. It always feels good to represent my department well. I'm just glad that we get to enjoy the ocean. I'm glad that I live here, and then to do well is just icing. I'm sunburnt, I'm tired, I'm hungry, but it feels amazing.
It's a warm summer day at Huntington Beach with perfect surf to match. The conditions have attracted several visitors, and perhaps the most excited beachgoers are of the four-legged variety.
Huntington Beach has one of the only dog beaches in Orange County where you can actually take your dog down to the beach. Our dog beach stretches from Golden West Street and north 1 mile through the cliff area to Sea Point Avenue. And very popular amongst dog owners. We have people that drive as far away as an hour because where else can you take your dog down to the beach and run in the sand?
Marine Safety Officer Mike Bartlett is on patrol just south of the dog park.
Dog versus person at dog beach area.
Looks like Tower 22 guard is on scene. It's going to be about 200 yards north of the tower on the berm line.
20 copy just north of 22.
Two dogs have gotten into a fight at the crowded dog beach. When one owner attempted to intervene, the larger dog attacked her. Tower guard Melissa Jester is on scene treating the injured woman.
You do need stitches?
Bartlett arrives on scene, and lifeguard Jester updates him on the patient.
There's like a bunch of bigger dogs, and then my dog was just like curious, and he went and like was sniffing around. The dog just bit him, and then I went to grab my dog, and he re-clamped with my hand on my dog.
How bad is it? You think it needs some stitches?
It's all the way to the bone.
All the way to the bone?
It's from the tip all the way to the base.
Okay.
All the way right to the bone.
That's a pretty good laceration. It requires immediate medical attention, the whole 9 yards.
The victim must get to the hospital quickly or risk possible infection.
I'll go ahead and transport the patient back up to 22 in the service road. I can meet you there. It's too difficult of an access in this area. We have the medics here. Why don't we get you in the truck? We're gonna drive you up, and I'm gonna transfer you off to the medics. Can you move back a little bit for me? Thank you so much, appreciate it. And my concern right now is I want to transfer the patient and get her off to the hospital. Here's the victim here.
Hi, what's your name?
Addie.
Addie, you got bit, right?
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
While medics assess the patient, animal control arrives to speak with the other dog owner.
Anytime that there's a dog versus human and a person gets bit by the dog, the standard operating procedure is that the dog that bites is quarantined for the first 72 hours pending the outcome of the victim. Regardless if the dog has had all its inoculations.
Not to get you right to the closest hospital, or we can get you, walk you to your car and you can kind of...
The only thing is I have 2 dogs with me.
Yeah, we can't bring the dogs there.
Unable to part with her beloved dogs, the woman elects to drive herself to the hospital.
It was the other girl's dog, a 75-pound American Bulldog. It's only 11 months, so it's a pretty big dog. I haven't seen the dog. The husband has a dog up here somewhere. You guys might have drove right past him. It's typical when you get a dog fight, the owners get involved and someone gets hurt, and then usually
when you take that
another
reaction,
fight.
you want to put your hands in there and you realize.
Yeah, it's not a good idea, especially if it's not your dog. This is doggy Disneyland, but unfortunately, animals are animals, and they get in fights, and sometimes the owners get involved, and somebody gets bit, and that's just what happens.